Kia ora koutou, you're here on the Empire Tech Cave with me, your resident tech and gaming guy Dave. It is time for a tech review. Today I am going to try and grab something that is behind me and I've not got my hands on it at all, but I do now. It is the latest and greatest peripheral from Sony PlayStation. It is the PlayStation DualSense Edge controller, which is the first party professional grade controller that has been released for the PlayStation 5. Now, I'm going to start by addressing the very obvious elephant in the room. If you live in New Zealand, like I do, this control pad, this one right here, costs 400 New Zealand dollars.
Emotional damage!
That is a lot of money. Like more than half the price of the PlayStation 5 Digital Edition console. Now, that's difficult. That's a tough one to swallow, if I'm honest. It's not very often that you can sort of turn around and go, yes, you should absolutely buy one of these because it's great value, when you could spend 2 times this money and get a console out of it. But money aside, and I think it's really important to say to talk about it up front, money aside, if you're looking for what is unquestionably the best PlayStation controller made by PlayStation, this is it. Now I'm going to break into some B-roll footage here and show you some of the bits that you get with this control pad. I've been using it for about a week now. I've taken it to a friend's house and sort of busted it out and let them have a play with it. I was going around their house to play Overcooked, and it was actually very easy to take this with me because it comes in its own awesome little comes with its own awesome little hard shell case that is made of the same material as the controller. If you pop this open, you can see that you've got all the extra bits inside. So up the top here, you've got the lovely braided USB-C cable, and down underneath you've got the very snazzy place that the control pad sits, and you have your spare thumbsticks that you can interchange here. This is actually a place where the thumbstick module goes when you're changing it, because it does come out of the controller. And this little thing here is a little bit of a funky little curiosity. What you do with this is you pop the back open and you put your USB-C cable in there, and that pops out the top here, and then you can lock it in place when you've got it plugged into your PlayStation 5. And what that allows you to do is make sure that that the USB charging cable doesn't come out accidentally when you are trying to charge it. Now, if like me, you already have you've got the console. I went and got the official charging station for the controllers, and it's still got the little bit along the bottom there, and it does fit into that charging station, so you don't have to use the USB cable to charge it up, which is quite useful. Obviously, on the back of the controller itself, you've got the 2 paddles. Not only do you have paddles, but you've got these little like nodules, I guess, that feel more like your fingers just rest on them naturally there, and it works in the same way. I actually quite like those, but the paddles are very good and intuitive as well, and they sit nicely in the default position for your middle fingers when you're gaming with them. The triggers themselves, very, very well understood, got a little bit of extra grip on them there, but they also have 3 settings, including what is on this side. The bottom one is a hair trigger setting, a middle one is the intermediate one, and the top one is the full press for the trigger. You now not only have those things to consider, but you can pop open the front of this. So once you pop the top, you can see that you've got these little metal things. That pops up, and then the actual joystick module itself pops out, and that means that you can then take that module and you can switch it out, or if it breaks, you can buy a new module without having to buy a new control pad, which, when you consider that this is a $400 control pad, as I've already mentioned, here in New Zealand, that's actually really nice, because yeah, it's cheaper to buy a joystick than a whole new controller, right? Definitely for me, the extra value over and above the materials and the hardware is the customization that is available within the console itself for this controller once you've set it up and paired it and you've got it unlocked. The the fact is you can adjust pretty much every aspect of how the controller behaves in the software. You can change the type of input curves for the thumbstick, so that if you prefer a very, very small gradient, you know, it's not just sensitivity, but it's how it registers the input and graphs. The same is available for the triggers themselves, so it's not just the hardware buttons, it's actually all in the software. You can do full remapping of the controls and everything like that, meaning that you can pretty much for any PlayStation game customize the controls to be exactly the way that you want them to be. Now, there are two FN keys at the bottom here, which are part of the joystick modules. Pushing and holding one of these brings up the quick menu that allows you to select the controller profiles that you have built. So it's got a default profile, and then you build the profiles that you want, and you can do that per game or just a general purpose one. And once they're all in and saved and running, you can just flick between them, and you can do that in any menu of any game. So you don't have to exit out of a game to change your controller mapping if you've jumped between games and you've forgotten to change your controller mapping. So it is really well thought out. If your focus is on getting the best PlayStation control pad for the PlayStation 5, it is this one. Look no further, and you'll just have to do what I do and curl up in a wee ball and cry about the price, because by God, it's expensive. But it is also the best. And so for me, this has to be a 9 out of 10. And that, it's difficult for me because it is the best controller. It absolutely is the best controller, but just like maybe a bit less money, guys, just a bit less. But that's what it is. Anyway, there it is, the PlayStation DualSense Edge. Get yours online or in store now, wherever you are. They are available generally, and it's very cool. I like it. I'm using it. It's my go-to controller, and that's the end of it. So there you are.